Hello. Hello, my name is Falterfire. This is a follow-up to a video I just got done recording that there will be a link to in the description. The other video is going over the deck that I just got done talking about, which is a Raodan Jazz Hands deck. That it's called Jazz Hands just because I needed a bad name for it and I didn't have a pun ready. So this is going to be a run on version 4.5.1.5. Depth 3 is out, but we haven't had any balance patches since Depth 3 came out. We have purchased these 4 items from the market. We're going to have more max mana going in. We're going to have more max shield. We're going to have more max health. And because I already have enough Aether, I am perfectly fine converting all of my Aether into artifact energy, which is the same thing as item energy. And that is going to mean that we're going to get more items than we normally would. So our passives, again, we have all of them. We get additional mana every turn. We get additional card every turn. Making statuses is going to give us growth, and we do extra damage against things that are frozen. So let's get into it. So our first item. All right. So heavy plating, we cannot evade or deal critical hits. So this is an item that tends to be kind of a bad call if you find it late, because it's very easy to find yourself in a position where you do some crits or some evade, and that makes this very bad. So the reason not to take heavy plating here, so these are the two possible choices. So first I'll go over real quick why I'm dismissing Poison Vial. It only does something if enemies are poisoned. We're not poisoning enemies. This does nothing. We're not taking this one. So heavy plating and Mask of Rage are 2 options. Heavy plating is going to reduce the damage that we take, which could be incredibly valuable to us. This deck can sometimes struggle a bit early on before it comes together, and it doesn't have any evade or critical to begin with. We are happy to swap out heavy plating later for any of the bodies that either give us additional spell damage or that give us additional status, and we are going to be getting additional, like I talked about, we have the Aether Flux Converter, so we're going to get a bunch of items, so it's very likely we'll find something to replace it with. Mask of Rage also is somewhat useful to us. It increases the effect of Adept and Mighty, and we have the ability to get, potentially, a decent amount of Adept stacks between Meditate and Visions of Frost, and potentially, we can get a little bit of Mighty stacking from Visions of Frost, but we're unlikely to get a lot of Mighty. It also is very good if you get any of the temporary bonuses or if you get any of the trinkets that start you with 5 ranks of Adept or Mighty. Because then if you have 5 ranks of Adept, then we would get the base 30 plus 4 times 5 is so a total of 50% Adept from that. But overall, this bonus is relatively small, relatively conditional, because if we only have 2 Adept from just playing 1 card, that is only an additional 5%, which is a pretty small buff. That's often not even going to be one additional status. So we're just going to take the heavy plating and plan to potentially... Okay, so here's the funny thing. We took that heavy plating. We have 2 of these guys, and they drop evasion cards. This is exactly what you don't want to see with your heavy plating. But we're going to go through them anyway, and I guess we're just going to try and replace the heavy plating sooner rather than later. So, the Dweils versus the Thornberries. There is a chance we're going to take a monster card here. The Dweils are a little bit more annoying to fight, though, and I don't think we... No, I don't think we want either of them. So, the big card that the Dweils drop is a skill that gives you Reflect and Plated until end of turn, which can be very useful, but we often are freezing enemies, and frozen enemies don't attack, which means that they won't be able to hit the reflect and they won't care about the plated because they're not hitting us, which makes that less valuable. On the other hand, they also give us a card that deals damage and removes our shield, which we don't have a way to get back our shield really aside from the Invigorate, but and in case you didn't see the first video, this is our starting deck again. So we've got mana, we've got a little bit of Arcane. Our main damage is Ice Blasts and Magic Blasts, and we have Invigorate for heal and a little bit of shielding if we happen to need to cast it. But I think we're just going to go here is the point. So one of the notes here is that to play Resolute Focus, we have to play a skill. Infuse is how we're going to play Resolute Focus. We need to do 33 damage. So this is, so we have a total of 14 mana. We cannot play this, so we can't play the Infuse, both Magic Blasts and the Ice Blast, so we can't kill an enemy. So instead, we're going to Infuse into Resolute Focus, and then we are going to freeze one of them and Magic Blast the other. I think we are going to freeze and Magic Blast. Oh, right. Raodan has a passive. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about Raodan. Here's the thing about Arcane. So if you freeze an enemy, Raodan then does 30% extra damage to them. And 10 plus 30% is 13, which you may know as enough to do the 3 extra damage we needed to get the kill. I'm very clever. And then also, frozen enemies take 5 extra damage from Arcane, which would have also given us a way to get that kill. So we had that the whole time, and I knew that because I am clever. So because we now have Adept, these Chilling Focuses, instead of being 2 mana and 2 Frost, are 2 mana and 3 Frost. And then we get Visions of Frost, and then we can do a lot of damage. So this guy is now going to be frozen for 2 turns, but he would have otherwise gained Reflect, which would have been really annoying. And we just have this kill here. Alright, so this is... Yeah, we're not taking the Thorn Whip because it doesn't do much for us. Both of these choices are solid. The Arcane Bolt doesn't do that much on its own right now. The Icy Concentration is potentially 5 mana. I think I like the Icy Concentration more right now. The Arcane Bolt is solid, but right now, especially this early, it will be tricky for us to actually get it to do much for us because we only have the Infuse as our other Arcane source, and we don't have any powerful way, which means that we can't easily stack things. So this event, we're going to take 5 damage, but then we're going to pick this option, which will increase our maximum mana, which is good for us because now, because more max mana means that we start with more starting mana as well. So we're going to meditate into Resolute Focus. We're going to do that. I think we want to freeze. So we might want to freeze the backliner because if we do, then it would not take away our mana, but it's only taking away 2 mana, and I kind of want the Piercing Warbot to die first. So we're going to freeze it because, as I said, this means that we're going to do 15 damage. And then I don't think it's going to immediately refreeze because the scaling on Elite's refreezing is pretty rough. So here we have a slightly awkward position. This is one of the reasons that the Resolute Focus can be a risk, which is that you can see here we don't have a way to actually trip it because we have this Invigorate that we can't play. So instead, we're just going to play the Icy Concentration, which gives us 3 mana outright, though, which means that we can now... So we could go Invigorate into Resolute Focus, but I would rather just, because we can do 13 damage twice, we can just kill that front. We just kill the Warbot. And now we're good to go. So, and now again, we have just this awkward hand where we have 2 Resolute Focuses and only 1 skill, which, you know, can be a downside. It is a thing to consider for me in the future with this deck, is that it's possible that I only want 1 Resolute Focus and then 1, maybe a Mana Shield. Or maybe just a... Because I don't want a regular focus, because regular focus, once you'd be getting to 0 mana, which is not a thing we're doing. Okay, so we still have an Adept. There's not really a reason for us to meditate then. So instead we're just going to, because otherwise if we don't, we have enough mana to do all of our cards, which gives us the kill. Okay, so Mind Blast is an amazing damage output. We really need a Mind Blast, so that's what we're going to take. I don't think we want to remove anything right now. So this Evade chance, this is useless to us right now, because we can't... both of these are useless to us right now, because we cannot critical and we cannot evade. But... And I don't know that I love any of them regardless. I may discard this and just take the 20 item energy. The Deadly Stinger is additional damage. We don't have any trinkets. I'll take the Deadly Stinger for now. I don't think I want to remove anything. Removals in a when you have a card pool, I usually am only removing things if either the starting deck has cards that I specifically put there with the intent to remove later, or if I have been forced, if I found myself in the awkward position of I didn't really like any of the choices that I was offered, which, as I said, is relatively rare because, you know, I chose the card pool. So we are going to get that freeze off, and then we're just going to try and kill this guy as quickly as possible because we really would rather not have to deal with him. How much damage is that doing? So that's going to be that's going to kill outright the front guy. So we're going to freeze here so we can resolute focus, get that killed. The magic blast wouldn't have been a kill on the front because the front wasn't frozen, and we only have this much damage because it's frozen. Let's go ahead and get this 10 damage off that bleed. And there we go. Okay, so all three of these cards are pretty good. I like having Mana Dance if we are ever going to get rid of the heavy plating. And I think taking the Mana Dance gives me a good reason to get rid of the heavy plating. The Blessed Strike, though, getting the Purity can be very valuable. And having that Purity then opens up a few other cards later down the line that we could get. It helps potentially against the Arcane mid-boss, because the Arcane mid-boss... I think I take this because the Arcane mid-boss is the one we're going to be fighting. And the Arcane mid-boss applies numerous status effects that we would rather not have. So having those Purity stacks is helpful. So this freeze is going to prevent... He was going to set up... The Vessel of Knowledge on turn 1 sets up 13 Doom on the player. And Doom is a first-person shooter from the 90s that was very... Doom is a status effect that it's technically a buff, which is important because being a buff means it's reduced by Arcane. And when your Doom stacks hit 0, you take 50 damage. We probably wouldn't be at risk of dealing with that anyway, but, you know, better safe than sorry. Let's go ahead and get that out. There's not really a whole ton of point to waiting. The bleed's not going to do more later than it did now. And by doing this, the vessel has those 2 frails, so if ever it tries to heal or if it ever tries to shield, it will not have as good of a time. I don't know if it was necessarily worth doing that. I don't think we want to freeze here, because we'll be able to freeze next turn instead. But I do want to do, instead, just get some damage in. So, okay, so here is the problem, though, is that we're not going to actually be able to freeze because of this Purity stack, which is a little bit annoying. Because we don't have any ways to clean off Purity stacks, and I would have frozen it last turn if I had remembered that it gets Purity from doing this. The Infuse is going to clean off a Purity stack, which is nice. And then we can do some damage. We don't have any Purity, though, which is unfortunate because now we have an Arcane weakness. I would love to get a freeze here. There is no chance that we could freeze. Because even if we could get to enough to potentially threaten a freeze, it would just remove the last Purity stack. So we're going to get Arcaned twice here, which is going to hurt. And this we got hit functionally 3 times because of the doubling, which is obviously not my favorite thing, but... And we are currently Arcane leaked, but I am just going to deal with that. And I'm just going to try and get damage in. We're going to take some damage here. It's going to hurt, but... Oh, we've got Arcane Barrier up now. That's fine. We can still get this kill. Alright, so we took a good amount of damage there. But it's fine. It's all fine. Okay, so Aether Storm and Charged Shield are both pretty good. I'm probably going to take the Aether Storm and then immediately upgrade it because this can do just a lot of damage. The Charged Shield, I don't think we have enough ways to up that shock yet so that we would be able to guarantee we get shocks off of the aftershocks. I'm going to take the Aether Storm. I'm tempted to reroll here to try and find a better outfit, except Bag of Tools is very good, and I'm happy to have it. If any of those items, if I didn't think Bag of Tools was one of the best trinkets in the game, I would have rerolled to find a different outfit. We're going to take Aether Storm Plus. Although I suppose we didn't actually take the evade card, so we're not actually in a rush to get rid of the outfit at this moment. Is there anything I want to remove? If I had another mana card, I would probably remove the Resolute Focus. One of the Resolute Focuses, because those have been slightly tricky for us to use. Okay, so here, for example, the Weak Horseshoe is pretty good if we can find... So the trick with this is we just always activate the Horseshoe after we've gained a Purity stack, after we've used the Purifying Strike, whatever it's called, Cleansing, Blessed Strike. So we do that, which then lets us do this safely, which, because that was a skill, lets us get more mana. And now we are going to freeze something so we can get Icy Concentration. So one of the advantages to freezing the Assault Wisp is that it also won't increase its powerful stacks, which is nice. And then we're going to freeze this guy so that he will also take extra damage from the Aether Storm. And we can finish off that kill. Go ahead and apply that. And then that's just lethal. Okay, Arcane Visions gives us some card draw. The Chilling Focus is tempting. I like getting more Arcane. I like getting more card draw. So, Force Guardian, I don't love the strike that this drops, but I will absolutely take a Toughen if that is the card that gets dropped. I think Toughen is pretty good. So, here's what I want. I want to get a freeze so that I can get this Adept. That may not be possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's get tools. Let's get Sextant to draw a card. Okay, so we can now go Blessed Strike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need to play another card before I can use the Horseshoe. Now we'll Resolute Focus. So what I want to do here, like I said, is get this freeze off. It looks like that's not going to be possible. We can get close, but we can't quite get there. We really need to draw either, if we drawn the Meditate or if we had drawn either of the Ice Blasts, we would have been able to get this freeze. Or if we gotten the Infuse, we could have gotten enough Arcane off of that. The reason why is because this is plated. And so we would have loved to have been able to freeze it so that then we could have gotten the Adept, which would have then let us use the Arcane Visions to strip off the plated and draw us cards. But unfortunately, that did not. Also, if it was frozen, then we could get the Icy Concentration off. But that didn't happen. So we are just going to do that. And we are going to deal what damage we can. And so the question here is, do we play the Invigorate? I think the answer might be yes, because we can actually use the healing. And we just, neither of these is actually giving us a status effect. Although playing this does theoretically set up for the Infuse next turn, but we are guaranteed to have the Meditate, so we don't need it. I think. We might if we... So the reason we might is because I think he sets up Tough and maybe some plated, and that would be enough that we would need the Meditate and the Infuse and the already existing stacks. So yeah, now we can Meditate into Resolute Focus. And yeah, it's got Tough now, which means it's taking 30% less, which means that even with this Meditate, we're only doing 9, so it's a good thing we did that. And now, can I get a freeze? No. So I just gonna have Sylph doing that and dealing damage. And now we have 8, and that is enough to get the kill. So that worked out. Okay, so Toughen I said I was gonna take, and I think I will. The Might again, the Tough is pretty good. The Cultivate is also pretty handy. That is a lot of growth. It gives us card draw. I like being able to consistently pick up Mighty. and tough is also not awful for us. And I like toughen plus a lot, but I think I actually may like the cultivate enough more. The big thing is this will be our only chance to pick up toughen, and we don't otherwise in our pool have ways to get mighty. And taking a second blessed strike isn't awful either, but I think we take toughen partially because we also kind of need more skills. Okay, so this is the giant Lore Blossom fight, which can be kind of annoying, especially if you do not have... So one of the big notes is, because this is a boss fight, the enemies are coming in with 15 frost resist, which means that Visions of Frost is not, even with a Chilling Focus, because against an elite fight, they only have 12, so Chilling Focus plus Visions of Frost is enough to get a freeze. But because these are bosses, so Vulnerable will get us there, though. So we're going to Sextant first, because that has to be played right after a skill. And now we can play Chilling Focus into Visions of Frost to get that freeze off, into Resolute Focus, into Icy Concentration. We can go ahead and give them all weak. And then, let me think. Start by just using Aether Storm. I think I want to go ahead and... So I can get the kill here, but if I infuse, then we remove one of the Death Spores ranks, which is pretty handy. But I think I would rather get this kill and then start setting up for this one to die. And actually we can lock down the kill like that. So we killed 2 of them on turn 1, which is, you know, I'm fine with that. The giant Lore Blossoms are a huge threat if you can't kill them quickly. Fortunately, we could. So we're going to play that into that. We are going to Blessed Strike into Cursed Horseshoe, which is going to draw us at least the Resolute Focus. And now Arcane Visions will draw us additional cards. So let's go ahead and do that. It will also clean off one of the stacks of Powerful and one of the stacks of Death Sport. So fortunately they didn't armor up last turn either, so we can now kill that one, and now we only have one left. So this has gone incredibly well. This fight could not have gone better for us. So we can freeze, but then we can't do anything else, but I'm fine with that because we are weak this turn, which means that we were doing less damage, and now we're no longer weak, so we can do more damage. And we can do that, which will set it up for... Actually, we didn't have to do that at all. We didn't have to infuse. I did, but it didn't have any status effects that cared about that. Nature's Blessing is always decent. Another Aether Storm is good. Frostwave is probably what I'm taking, though. It's additional card draw and additional freeze and a skill, and we kind of need all those things. So, this is a tough choice. Tesla Coil's okay, but it's a little inconsistent. It can be a little slow. Pirate Hook and Duplication Tome, though, are both very good. Pirate Hook is very good against basically any fight that's not a boss. Duplication is good. Tome is good against every fight. Duplication Tome can be trickier to figure out when to use. The nice thing about Pirate Hook is you don't have to think. It just does its thing every time. So the question is, do I trust my skill with Duplication Toming enough that I would rather have it than Pirate Hook? I think I do, especially because Duplication Tome is particularly good with Bag of Tools, because if you Bag of Tools and you get a Mana Salve, you can Duplication Tome the Mana Salve for extra mana. Yeah, we'll take that. So this is... So the advantage of going Frostwave Plus is that at that point, Adept will be enough to let Frostwave Plus freeze any non-boss enemy, which means that we can guarantee that we'll get to draw those. We'll get to draw cards. Blessed Strike being cheaper is fine. Mana Blast Plus that's a 50% damage boost to it, and it is already our primary damage output, so making it more damaging is good. Taking Tough to only costing 2 is pretty good, but it doesn't actually increase the effects that we care about. Uh, so the real choices here, I think, are either the Arcane Visions Plus or the Frostwave Plus, both for the same reasons, basically, which is that we get more card draw and we get more of the status effect. Visions of Frost Plus is also a decent option because it makes it stronger against bosses, because then we only need a Chilling Focus plus the Visions of Frost in order to get the first Frost proc. Magic Blast Plus is also a very good choice because it is just straight up takes it from 10 to 20 damage. I think the play here might be that we upgrade the Mind Blast and we remove one of the Magic Blasts, because I think the Magic Blasts are kind of our lowest value cards right now. It's either that or we upgrade the Frost Wave. I think we upgrade the Mind Blast and cut a Magic Blast. Upgrades in this game are really a difficult choice a lot of the time because they can do so much for you, and because you get relatively few, especially in if you're not playing quick play. So I mentioned before I focus on elites. So you can see here we have all the elites on the right side. Once again, we are given these two as our choices. I think all three of my videos so far, we haven't had a chance to fight the Elemental Amalgamation, which is usually my preference, although it's less useful for Raodan because I don't actually like Elemental Strike on Raodan, because I'm just not doing enough hits. So the question is if we want to set up a freeze first to get that extra damage. I think we may as well. So now if we arcane proc this, if we put 2 arcane procs on the Drake, we will get it will die, but we don't have, we can't quite do that because we don't have Adept. I wasn't thinking. But I can now Inkwell and Quill the Infuse. So the other option here, so the Resolute Focus I can play right now, or I can Inkwell and Quill the Resolute Focus, or I can Duplication Tome the Infuse and the Inkwell and Focus, and then do things. So the question is, what all do I copy? Tough choices. Let's go Inkwell and Quill on the, on the Resolute Focus, and then I'm going to Duplication Tome the Infuse and maybe the Blessed Strike, actually. That lets me do that. So by doing that, oh right, because where did the Adept come from? What? Oh, because I had the Mushroom, and the Mushroom gives Adept, of course. I shouldn't have played. I forgot that I got Adept from the tool that I got. But the point is, now I have a Purify stack, which means that I can do that. We can freeze, and then deal some damage, and we're good. All right, so Spirit Helm is another way to get growth. So you've noticed like shield isn't a big concern for us a lot of the time, which is part of why I am not sure I want Spirit Helm. Taking a second Blessed Strike gives us more damage, it gives us more purity. Purity is pretty valuable against any number of things. Against the odds produces a pretty good amount of shield, and it does a lot of shield, especially against the enemies that we most need shield against. So I think I'm actually going to take this, because it's a minimum of 9 shield, and against like this fight, it would be worth 15 shield for only 2 mana, which is very good. So we can meditate into Resolute Focus. We can Blessed Strike into Cursed Horseshoe. I think we're probably going to toughen here. Question if I want a Bag of Tools. We don't have spare mana, really. We've got 14 mana, and we've got more than 14 mana worth of things to play. So we don't actually want to play the... I don't think we necessarily need to play the Toughen, because the Visions of Frost is going to give us Mighty stacks. But also, we don't have any way to cut through the Evasion stacks right now, which does kind of make me want to create tools and see what we can find. That doesn't do anything for us immediately, but... Yeah. Yeah, we're in this awkward position again where we just cannot cut through. We don't have a great way to deal with all these evasion stacks. We're going to go ahead and freeze this one too as well, though, because we can. And then I think I'm just going to take away the rest of those evasion stacks so that we can kill at least the first one next turn. And yeah, this is what I was talking about. We can now get a lot of shield off of that, which we will go ahead and do. And now we can straight kill that one, which seems good. And we can draw some cards. Unfortunately, we can't do anything with them. I'm going to use this eventually. I just have to have a target for it that I want to use it on. So we can freeze and also Aether Storm. That seems pretty good. Let's freeze the back one, because this one we're going to set up the Deadly Stinger on so it will die. And now this guy doesn't have any evade left, so we can get this kill with Mind Blast for 45. Okay. So this is a chance for us to try regrowth if we wanted to. Read the Ice is interesting. So it's one of these two. Firebolt doesn't do much for us. And then, so regrowth, I feel the big things regrowth can do for us potentially is it lets us, it's sort of like a duplication tome in that it lets us replay something, it lets us play something twice. It doesn't work on temporary things because they just vanish. But against anything that's not a temporary thing, it lets us play that thing twice. And that sounds interesting, so we're going to try it. Okay. We can get additional item energy, which is not the most valuable thing. So all these are trinkets. Starting plated is okay. Healing when we deal 10 plus damage with a card is like, that will trip on all of our cards, but also we're just not taking that much damage right now. I don't think any of these do enough for me that I think if I'm using this reroll here, Arcane applied by cards is, that's a lot better. So that will help make all of our various Arcane applying cards stronger. So we can Toughen into Resolute Focus. We have enough mana that I'm fine with seeing what this bag of tools is going to give us. Like copying the Sharpening Stone. I kind of like duplication toming the Sharpening Stone and the Aether Storm Plus, because we can now upgrade our Chilling Focuses and our our Magic Blast Plus. Which means that we can now finish this off immediately and give it a Frail. And we don't really even need the Plated. But it's going to disappear in a turn anyway, so we may as well. Okay, so Fire Phoenixes, if we don't kill it within a couple turns, it will, I think we have, I can never remember if we have 1 or 2 more turns before it turns back to the full Phoenix. But the important thing is we don't want it to do that, obviously. So it does have a bunch of Plated, which, you know, can cause problems. So we could regroup to redraw our 1 mana. So drawing 2 cards, unless we draw exactly Ice Concentration, doesn't do much for us. So I do kind of find it funny to just do this, which is +1 mana, which is very marginal, but we otherwise aren't going to be able to deploy our whole hand anyway. So the nice thing is that this is plated, which means that we're still doing okay damage with Mind Blast, but we can't get the freeze here because of just how much plated, because it's plated and tough, and so like this is just not going to, we just only get 4 frozen out of the Ice Blast. The meditate, so our choices here are basically we can do Frost Wave, which will draw us a card, or the Visions of Frost, which will get us Adept. I think we do this, and we hope we didn't see our card draw, which is unfortunate. I think we point this, so basically what we have to decide is if we think that it is possible that we get the kill next turn. And it's unlikely, but I want to go for it. If we can avoid the Phoenix hatching, that would be my preference for probably obvious reasons. Looks like that's not going to be possible, unfortunately. We can do this dance again to get +1 mana. Yeah, we're not going to be able to stop it. This is going to hatch, but we can at least kill that. So it hatches, and it keeps all the buffs that it picked up, but except for the plated. But fortunately, we're not on fire, and one of its main attacks that's going to do the most damage cares about whether or not we're on fire. So we are safe from that. So we can't get this Arcane off because we still have to deal with this Tough, which is really annoying. We can get our own Tough, though, which is going to help us. And I don't think I want to spend 5 on setting up Arcane. And this is even with the +3 Arcane from that item we picked up, and then we still just don't have enough. I keep not having the mana to play the ways that we get Adept. And that is a large part of why we're having these problems. Yeah, okay, and that won't give us Adept because we can't get that freeze off. We at least gotta make progress towards freezing it. We take some damage here. So Adept and Tough basically 1-to-1 cancel each other out. This is actually enough to draw us the card off of it being frozen. And can we get a kill? Yes. Oh, no, we get very close, but we can't quite kill, which means that we're going to take more fire damage. And we can toughen to get some healing, and then get the kill. So we end up taking some damage there, but not a ton. So Power Surge and Runic Focus are both tempting. I think I want the Power Surge. I think I want to that's probably going to be my next upgrade. I think I'm fine keeping the 1 Magic Blast for now. I think I'm fine keeping the Regrowth for now. And away we go. So the reason to fight the elites is to hope to get either rest supplies or an upgrade or a reroll token. The removes are generally less valuable because, as I've said previously, in this game, it's just not as valuable as it is in other games due to because you get to choose your starting deck. I don't hate copying the Frost Wave and like the Visions of Frost. Let's see what we get off of the bag of tools. None of these are particularly amazing copies. I may copy this Mystic Mushroom because it's just, I want to do a copy. I don't think I want to copy a Visions of Frost. I don't think I want to copy an Ice Blast. Let's do this first. Now that we have a Purity. Okay, I do want to so we're going to copy the Frost Wave and the Mind Blast. So we have Adept, so we don't have to prioritize the Visions of Frost here. And now, but we don't have Mighty, and so it's worth doing this to get the Mighty. Oh, right, we can draw more cards. All right. And we can draw more cards, but we probably need to play a card first. So we want to get a stack of Mighty before we do that. Can we do, we can't do everything though. I think instead we're just going to Aether Storm into, yeah, there. Into killing things. We're just going to win. I've decided that winning is actually good. I think now we take Chilling Focus. I like having a mana barrier, but I think I kind of just want more mana at this point. We've seen that like the deck, even when we're drawing cards, we often don't quite have enough mana. So this is kind of where this regrowth can be kind of awkward, is that we just don't have, if we don't have good targets for it. But we can toughen, which I don't hate, because getting this these mighty stacks up is pretty good. Actually, I said that we didn't have good targets for it, but I actually do like regrowthing back. So we can get, and that gets rid of both those plated stacks, which otherwise can be kind of annoying. And then we get enough shield, and for once I'm not burning all my trinkets on turn 1. Okay, so we can get Powerful 1. I like the idea of creating a temporary copy of our Powerful. Let's draw some cards to see what's available to us. We're probably copying that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so we have enough space for these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's play the Meditate and then copy these two. Power Surge, Brittle Scroll. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Mana? Yeah, we definitely need more mana in this deck because I keep trying to draw. I keep drawing cards and I keep just not quite getting punished, but just not getting out as much out as I would like, just because we don't have the mana in the deck that I can draw into in order to keep in order to actually play all the cards that we have. Over time, we get growth, which helps with getting the mana, but having more mana just outright in the deck would also help. Okay, so because of the taunt, we have no choice but to cast it on that. So we already have Adept stacks, so we're probably not going to play this, because also the other part of that is if we do, we can't play Ice Blast. But Aether Storm also just does a bunch of damage, and we can kind of eat all of, because all this damage just takes away all of our shield, but it doesn't kill us. So I like getting a little bit more growth. I like dealing a bunch of damage. And now we're going to freeze that one because it was actually doing something. And get a bunch of shield back. Okay, now here I would love to freeze both of them. We can freeze at least one of them. That's a start. I think regrowth is worth it. Yeah, let's just get this kill. And the reason to use that to get the kill is that then we get the more growth stacks, because we got an arcane proc. And the rest of this should be fairly straightforward, because one of them is dead, and the other one's going to die. And you'll notice just how quickly bosses stack up additional frost. It's very hard to multi-freeze bosses. You have to choose your moment on that pretty well. Charged shield is kind of tempting. Those shocks, we still don't have great ways to ensure that we get the shocks, but we get... So I do also like Dispel Magic. I like the ability to get rid of cursed stacks on us. We don't have a cleansing shield. If we had a cleansing shield, I would probably take the charged shield, oddly enough. But because we don't, I think I do want the Dispel Magic. So, Paladin's Armor over the Heavy Plating. This would let us evade, but we still haven't picked up anything that's evading crits. I think I'm fine doing that. I mean, of course, there's this chicken and egg thing where we don't pick up the evades and crits because we don't have any, because we have that, and then we don't get rid of that because we don't get rid of the heavy plating because we don't have any way to get evades and crits. So Regrowth Plus lets us regrow mana and get full value, which is very good. I think that's probably what we do. Normally, Power Surge Plus would be immediately what I go for, but I really like the idea of being able to regrowth for free. I still don't think we have any cuts. We're going to go here. So let's actually do this. So the question here is, would I rather regrowth the icy concentration or regrowth? I think we see what we draw with your first arcane visions. Okay. I think I do actually want the arcane visions back because that will let us finish killing the Drake. And because we can get the mana using that. I should have considered duplication toming the regrowth. So we can once again do this thing where we do that into drawing our cards. I would love to shut down the dragonfly from poisoning us, but that's not going to happen. But I can do this to take away all of the Drake's evasion for the turn, and do that, which will prevent it from getting a bunch of shield. Alright, so we can Dispel Magic, which is going to take away its evade. I think this damage must be based on how much poison we have, because that's the only reason I can think of that we wouldn't be taking any damage here. So I want to do both of these things. I want to kill this, and I want to freeze that. It looks like I can't actually get the kill anyway. The best I can do is... Let's see what tools we get. Okay, so the powerful doesn't, strictly speaking, help. We're definitely doing this. So I think I would rather freeze this, which gets us the Mighty and the Adept, because that then prevents us from taking anything here. I may regrowth this Chilling Focus, because that will freeze this guy, which seems pretty good. Actually, I think I am going to copy the regrowth and the Frost Wave. And we can Resolute Focus. So right now, oh yeah, because it's the Resolute Focus I just played. Duh. Chilling Focus. Do I regrowth the Chilling Focus? I think not. I think we Frost Wave. And we can regrowth the Frost Wave. And then we can play the Resolute Focus. And I think after that we Icy Concentration, and then we regrowth the Icy Concentration, because we're going to be drawing a bunch of cards, so we're going to need a bunch of mana for them. So that is going to get that kill, because we get the extra damage from it being frozen. And then we can just start hitting. So we are at 16 growth, so getting this gets us one more mana next turn, because that takes us to 18. Oh, it refroze, which gave us the extra mana we needed anyway. Oh, don't I feel a little silly? We don't have any status effects we need to get rid of. We're just going to keep laying in Frost on this. We don't quite refreeze it again, but we get pretty close. And then that will get us the refreeze. You'll notice that at this point, because we have Adept and 2 powerful, these Chilling Focuses are now worth 5 Frost, which means they're actually doing a considerable amount to help us keep freezing things. Alright, well, now we have to pay the Piper. We're going to take damage. We can get Mighty to help, and Tough to help reduce the damage we're taking. And we're only taking 4, which we're going to heal back most of. We can reduce the ranks of debuffs by 1, but that won't get rid of our weak, which is the thing. Oh, we just did that. It's very important, I think, to spend a bunch of time pretending that you're going to do something that isn't going to just win you the game. So, Brainstorm gives us card draw, but we need mana. But we can't actually use it. Like, Noxious Focus is never going to get us the mana we want. Because it's only ever going to give us 2 mana. And we can do better than that. But also, we need mana. The other options that we can work on are removing cards that cost us mana. But the only card that we have that I would really consider removing is this Invigorate, because we now have the Against the Odds, and we now have the Toughen, that I think removing the Invigorate makes sense. That on its own does not justify any of this. I guess we take the Noxious Focus. This doesn't do anything for us. I think I like still the damage reduction. This doesn't do anything for us. Or this does things for us, but I think it's less... It may be more valuable than the Deadly Stinger. Yeah, I think it's more valuable than the Deadly Stinger. And we're going to remove the Invigorate because, like I said, I think that's our least valuable card right now. Let's get temporary copies of Power Surge and Mind Blast. Well, so the question is, are we going to need more mana? We currently have a minimum of 5. No, I think we just copy those two. Although really I should get these tools first. Let's upgrade the Meditate, I guess. And then we can get a kill here, which is nice. Because these guys are still going to try and freeze us, and they will succeed if we can't stop them. So normally I would go Blessed Strike into Cursed Horseshoe, as you've seen several times at this point. But I would rather have the... I would rather have this keep this Purity stack because it ensures that I won't get frozen. Because they have Frost Rune, but the Purity stack eats the frozen and keeps us safe. So this is another interaction. We can also arc Cursed Horseshoe into Dispel Magic. And if I don't remember we had the Dispel Magic, that's another reason to take the Brainstorm. But again, I think it is more about the mana in this case than it is about whether or not we can deal with the other part of the downside there. So, Ice Shards. The Frost Rune doesn't do a ton for us, but this is still some damage. We are stacking some amount of Powerful. It does some damage and gets us and applies a little bit of Frost. I'll take it. It's fine. We'll fight another Dragonfly. Let me think. So we can meditate. It's not going to be 4. So Regrowth will let us get so if we Duplication Tome, the Frostwave, and the Regrowth, then what we can do is we can Chilling Focus into Regrowth, into Chilling Focus, into Frostwave, so this Frostwave is temporary. Let's see what else we draw. I think at this point it may actually be Ice Shards into Regrowth. I should have decided if I was going to Dispel Magic sooner. I think at this point I go Cursed Horseshoe into Dispel Magic. The reason I did that is because that also takes away one of those evasion stacks. Into Arcane Visions. Into hit that guy for a bunch. So this is where like Arcane Nova would be pretty good. Although we do still have Aether Storm, which is going to do a lot of the same work that Arcane Nova would have done in terms of just like helping us deal with these drakes. Let's see what we get here. I'm doing that because that will help me get this finish off here without having to commit another card. So this gives us Mighty, which we don't have right now, which will let us do even more damage with that. And we still have, because we duplicated the Ice Shards at the beginning, we have just so many stacks of, we got a ton of stacks of Frostburn, which is what's going on there. And there's our kill. So far this is all going pretty well. We haven't taken much damage over the course of the whole thing. We have handled all the things that were thrown our way. I still don't really like Noxious Focus. I'm definitely not taking a second one. Icy Chains gives us another way to apply Frost. It gives us it only costs 1 mana, which is good. It applies Weak. That's all stuff that we want. So Shocking Scepter applies Shock, but we're not playing that many spells. I think we're just going all in on the Arcane thing and getting just additional Arcane detonation damage. The question is, do we want to remove anything? I think we are still fine with staying with what we've got. So ideally we want a Purity. We either want to freeze or get a Purity stack here just to prevent being burned. Because we do get set on fire if this guy doesn't go away. We already have some Mighty stacks from the other thing. I think we just Aether Storm Plus and just start doing damage. So Ruby Dragon, if you haven't seen this fight before, when Ruby Dragon gets to half health, we're going to get to see 2 Drake friends, which are, you know, not the most friendly things. Let's go ahead and do this whole dance. Although this is another case where I would have preferred having the Purify if I had been thinking. But I can actually get it back, so it's fine. Because we're going to be set on fire again. So, drawing cards or getting Arcane procs. So the advantage of doing the Arcane proc is that gets us the extra growth, so we get the extra mana. This is just a bunch of damage, though. Let's get that Arcane proc. Okay. So these Wyvern Fires are added to us by the dragon, and they give us burn if we don't play them. And once we play them, they're just gone. But they aren't temporary. They will be shuffled back in if we don't play them. So we want to get rid of them. We want to make them go away forever. I think I want to, let's see what tools we get. Let's actually duplicate. Things I want to duplicate the Sharpening Stone, and I also want to duplicate an upgraded. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade the Power Surge, and then we're going to duplicate Power Surge and Ice Shards. And the reason we're duplicating Ice Shards is just because I want to be able to play whatever I duplicate, and we don't have that much spare mana. Will this spawn? Yeah, this is going to be able to spawn those. Which is fine. So the reason the dragon keeps doing 0 is because we have prevented him from doing any freeze on us, or from it doing any burn, because this 0x3 is increased by an amount based on how much burn is on us, which has just been 0. So there's that kill, which gets us 1 stack of another stack of powerful. So we're now at 6 powerful. We're going to Dispel, which is going to get rid of that Evade. It's going to get rid of the Frail that was on us. We're going to get some Adept. We are still not going to be set on fire because we do not wish to burn. We are not Katon. Can we get a freeze here? I don't think there's any way that we get a freeze here, unfortunately. We can do that, though. to draw some cards. Oh, hey, we got a freeze, which means that now we can do this to help recover our mana. And get some Mighty and Tough. And now we're in pretty good shape. So we can actually get these to go off. Oh, we're going to have to take a burn. I didn't plan this out well. Okay, well, we'll get rid of one of them. However will we survive being at having taken 5 whole damage for the entire fight so far? We can get very close to getting this this freeze, but we can't quite. Oh! I can't do math. I can't do words. Let's draw some cards. This is like just the worst possible. I maybe shouldn't be drawing. I maybe should make better choices and not just assume that drawing cards will save me. It's fine. We only took 1 damage for the whole fight. Okay, so Empower, we do have some Powerful, which makes the Empower very tempting. We have, so Curse Conjunction is pretty good for slower fights, and we are gating into slower fights. So it's going to be either the Empower or the Curse Conjunction. Both of them are pretty good for us. The Worm's Bite is also not off. Okay, no, it is awful for us because we aren't. It's very good if you're applying Burn, but we're not. I don't remember what the other Fire Dragon card is. I don't know if it would even be worth trying to reroll for it, but both of these are very useful. If I was going to reroll, the only card I would be, the epic card I'd be rerolling for is the one that gives us mana equal to our max mana, or equal to a percentage of our max mana. I would love to have that, but I think I will take an Empower. And I think now I upgrade the Power Surge. And then I think I'm fine. I would love to remove the Noxious Focus, but I can't afford to do that until we have the mana. Okay, so I think we're going straight up the left path. We've got 2 Baelator Hatchlings. That's 2 shots at Hungering Focus, which is an amazing mana card. It is a chance at Corrupted Font, which is an amazing mana card. It is a chance at Muck from the Mire, which is an amazing card that doesn't produce mana. So, let me think. We can get this free. So the question is always do we want to duplicate? I do kind of like the idea of because we have an Ice Shards. I like the idea of duplicating Ice Shards and, or, yeah, I think it would be Ice Shards and Aether Plus just because that's what we have the mana for. So we're going to Visions to get the Mighty stack. Going to spread out the love. And then we are just going to output so much Frost thanks to that Frost Rune. We don't quite freeze the back one, but we get pretty close. So that means we can't copy the Power Surge Plus, but I'm fine with that. I think we get the tools in case we get a copy. We did not. But we can Power Surge Plus and get a whole bunch of mana because actually, let's draw some cards. Because I was curious, because if we draw in the Regrowth, it might have affected my decisions. Let's do that and then draw some cards. We can draw more cards. Let's go ahead and play that. And that's going to do, yeah, just a lot of damage. So we want to get as many of, if we have different buffs, we want to get all of them before we play Empower, because Empower is going to increase every single buff we have by 1. But I think we have all of the relevant buffs already active. So the funny thing here is, this is, like, we can guaranteed kill this, but this is froze for multiple turns. So I think I'm just going to do that, because it just does so much damage towards getting this kill at the of the backline Dork. And then that gets back. Oh, this isn't, even though both of them are frozen, it wasn't reflecting the extra damage. We would have gotten the kill on this one with the Icy Blast as well, but it's not really important. And then we can... I should have played that before using the Powerful, but at some points you're just winning so hard that it doesn't matter. And that's kind of where we're at. Applying Frost to ourself is not the most tempting thing. The Brainstorm, I like the Brainstorm, I think. Because we can afford to play it. And we're more likely to be able to afford to play it, although I might remove it. I think this I'm going to reroll. I don't think I like any of this, really. I don't love any of this either, but I think this is the best option. I never take Force Armor. It may be fine. It does give us a whole bunch of max shield, but it means that we aren't getting that reduced damage. That reduced damage is going to be valuable if we end up fighting some of the enemies that are later. And we are at, like, we have so much buffer health that I would rather, like, because if we end up taking damage against a fight, I would rather have this massive buffer rather than just having this greater buffer at the beginning of fights. If you find yourself doing a bunch of fights where in every fight you're taking like 10 to 15 damage, but never more than that, then Force Armor is very good. Because that extra 20 max shield completely prevents that 10 to 15 damage you'd be taking. You're golden. It'll save you a lot of health in the long run. But if you're doing like I am, where you're just not losing any health, this is a whole lot less helpful because you're trading in a bunch of your insurance health. Because basically by having this, I have this huge cushion. The max shield is only useful if we're burning through it, and I don't think we will be. And having this massive health means that when we go into a fight that we do have a risk of taking damage, then we're just fine. So we are going to take the heavy mace though, because it's just better than, we don't have a weapon. It's a pretty low tier weapon. We would have loved to have gotten anything that was plus spell damage, but it is better than, literally better than having straight nothing. So I think I am going to, so I want to dispel magic, which means that I'm willing to do the Cursed Horseshoe, because they were hidden, which meant that they were going to dodge allegedly 50%, but in practice more like 100% of our attacks. So we're going to get a freeze here, definitely. So we're definitely freezing things. We're definitely frost waving. I probably should have saved the Icy Concentration until I knew if I was getting the regrowth. Because we want to regrowth something that we're going to be able to afford to play again. I do really like the idea of just ensuring that we have Frost Rune for the entirety of the fight. And so here, Overcharge is basically free because, or free in terms of like we don't take the downside because we had that Purity stack still. We can go ahead and get Adept stacks and Mighty stacks for next turn. We don't have anything else going on, so I'm fine doing that. Let's do that. And I guess we just discard that because we can't do anything with it. So now we can Duplication Tome, which is slightly awkward because we don't have any extra mana here, but I'm not getting a bunch of powerful. That guy's straight dead. And we're good. Yeah, I'll take a Cleansing Shield. I still just want more mana. So I think one of the things that I'm noticing here is like this card pool maybe could use more mana. I think I cut like the Growth Shield to add the Predator's Focus back in, especially because we've got these Chilling Focuses now, which are only 2 mana each. And we kind of want some cards, we want more cards that are giving us more mana than that. Let's freeze you. Get the Resolute Focus. We want to freeze everything ultimately, if we can. But I don't know that that's going to be possible. So we can pick up, I don't think we need the Stoneskin Balm. And I would love to draw some cards, and that gave us a Purity stack. Okay, so now if we freeze the backliner, we can then infuse it to death. It will die into these Death Spores, which is annoying. But there's not much I can do about that. So I can get a couple of copies of Empower, which I don't hate. But Empower is... So the advantage of upgrading Empower is that then I can copy it freely. But because it's costing us mana right now, I think I don't want to copy. I think I'm not going to end up copying just because I don't have the spare resources. And then I think I will infuse this away so that it will just die. Which I probably should have done first because then we get the growth, the whatever stack from it. So what's the top card is the Blessed Strike. Well, this is kind of gross, but I may end up just duplicating the Noxious Focus, duplicating the Regrowth and the Power Surge, and then planning to like Regrowth back the Noxious Focus just for that mana. Let me think. Because yeah, I can't. Well, no, we're going to do this because that'll get us the double freeze. At which point we don't need magic. We don't need the shield, and we can just get this kill. Okay, so Mind Seed, we're taking it out. We need the mana. I would love to have the Bane. We need the mana. This hand is awkward. Let's pull out our bag of tools, which will lets us Resolute Focus, but then we can't Sextant. I think we Sextant. So we can copy the Mana Salve and the Power Surge Plus, which I like. I probably should have saved that. I wanted to get the mana so I would have the space in my hand, but I probably should have saved the Chilling Focus, because when we get all those powerful stacks, that will let us get Freeze off. Power Surge Plus, and actually I think it's the, I said the Mana Salve, I think it's actually the Brittle Scroll, because we have a decent amount of mana going on here. And now let's go and do that. Trying to think if I've got any way to get... I would love to have at least one Adept before I play the Empower. Let's do this, which will not... Oh! I did not think that... Oh, it's 2 shock to yourself whenever you draw a card. I thought it was only 1. Whoops. It's fine. It's fine. So we can't get rid of this with the Dispel Magic because Shocked cannot be reduced by cards or effects. But we were able to remove the Arcane Leak and the Overcharged, which helps a lot still. Oh, I should have played that first. Sequencing is still difficult. I still am very bad at sequencing. So Empower is probably going to give us enough that this will be 22, which means it will trip 2 Arcane procs, which is 40 damage. And then I would regrowth it back, except it probably won't get us mana, but it would let us do more Arcane procs, which is funny. But I think I would rather get Mighty Stacks and just help ensure that this doesn't ever unfreeze, and then just get a whole bunch of damage out. So you'll notice that we did 8 damage per hit there with the Ice Shards, and Ice Shards base only does 1x3, so that's a pretty good sign of just how much we are stacking buffs here to get value. We'll take some Toughen. We'll get some freezes, and we will do some damage. It's a question of whether we want to save mana for next turn or if we want to just get more freeze out. I think I just want to save mana for next turn. I think we've already got this freeze on lockdown. And now, an enemy is frozen, so we can get that bonus. We already have Adept, so I don't need to play that. We have Adept and Mighty already, so I didn't have to play that quickly. So that's the Bailator hatchling down. And yeah, it wasn't the fastest fight, but it was a pretty convincing kill. There wasn't ever a point there where we were really in danger that it would be able to survive. It would be able to really hurt us. Because like we picked up that shocked, but it hasn't mattered because they just don't ever get a chance to hit. Which is the other reason that like it might be worth cutting. Which is the reason it might be worth cutting the what's it called? Maybe it's still on our deck. Yeah, the against the odds, because we don't find ourselves needing shield a lot. Because shield only matters if they're able to unfreeze, and we have done a pretty good job of keeping things frozen. And so Ravenous Intent, I would love to have. I think I'm going to reroll to try and get a Hungering Focus. I did not. I will still take a Ravenous Intent. It is still pretty solid. It draws cards. It gets us. It only draws non-mana, which is unfortunate, but. Okay, so doubling Spyglass, I will happily take over the Ancient Statue because doubling things is very good. Status Supply by Runes is pretty good also, but the flip side of that is it only helps our Frost Rune, which we're not getting. We're getting some value out of, but I think I would rather do that. So we can start with Adept. We can freeze the Baelator hatchling. We can draw some cards. And just get damage out. Okay. So now we draw more cards. It's always draw cards o'clock as far as I'm concerned, if that wasn't clear enough. So I think what I'm actually going to do here is play that, and then I'm going to double my Frost Wave, which will draw us 4 cards and ensure that everything is frozen. And then I'm probably going to copy this Power Surge Plus so we can get a bunch of powerful stacks. I said the trinkets are very good, and I wasn't lying. Like, we would not be doing anywhere near this well if I wasn't able to leverage these trinkets to do this nonsense. See what we get. Sextant's going to draw us a card. Top card of our deck is mana. That may actually be worth reclaiming. The last 2 cards in our deck are, so we definitely wouldn't get mana if we did that. So let's just do that to get mana back. Freeze that. So this would kill the backliner. It's a question whether we want to kill that or focus on getting damage in on the Baelator. So we're going to do that first. And we will get debuffed here, but I think I am fine with that if it means that the Baelator probably dies. So this could theoretically draw us mana. It did, which makes me happy because that freezes that, and then we can regrowth back that and play it. Yeah, the regrowth plus is definitely doing easily enough work to justify itself. I'm going to keep hitting the Baelator because if we draw the Aether Storm Plus was the card that I was hoping to get there, which would have we still have the kill on both. But the Aether Storm Plus would have just given us a way to hit the backliner without spending a card. Unfortunately, we didn't get Hungering Focus from either of these. I was really, really hoping to get Hungering Focus. I wasn't paying attention if we got a remove or an upgrade. If it was an upgrade, I'd probably take another regrowth. I may take the regrowth anyway. I really like the flexibility it has. I would rather have Hungering Focus as a remove. Do I remove the regrowth? No, I'm removing the against the odds. So yeah, I just need more mana. I should have copied the token. Well, I didn't have enough space in my hand for that many tools, but. So you can pick up Mighty and Tough. I think we do that just to get that set up. And we just do some damage. It gives us some growth. That's not the worst thing to do. Oh, duh, if we're just going to do damage, we would rather just do that. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with the fact that we now have 4 curse stacks on us. So if we draw cards, we don't shock ourselves immediately. It would mean that we're not doing any other shocking this turn. Or any other card draw this turn. But I think it's worth it. Yeah, that is unfortunate, though, that now this Ravenous Intent is a whole lot less valuable. Well, it's only... No, it's only 2, so this would still not shock us. So we could still play the Ravenous Intent. And now we can Cleansing Shield. I'd rather get something frozen. I don't know if that's possible. I don't think that's possible. I think I might just double... What I might end up doing here is doubling the Cleansing Shield, because that would clear off 2 of our curses. It's that, or I'm probably going to double, using the Spyglass, the Empower. I think I Meditate and then double the Empower. So we now have an unfortunately high amount of curse stacks, but we also have the start of some... We're getting somewhere, not very far, but we're getting somewhere on the whatever stacks. So we can Arcane Leak and then Dispel Magic, so that's what we're going to do. The question is if we copy the Dispel Magic to help remove more of our curse stacks. That doesn't seem like the most useful. We can do better. I would rather copy the Power Surge. So we're going to Dispel Magic, which means we're no longer Arcane, whatever. We're going to Blessed Strike, which is going to help prevent getting, which is going to prevent the next debuff we would get. We're going to Frostwave, draw some cards. Okay. So now, even though we don't get that much out of it, we don't get that much out of the second copy, I really wanted to copy the Power Surge, because now we get to apply 10 Frost with that, which is pretty good. We are going to be slowly losing a bunch of health to this curse because we just had we couldn't get rid of it on the first turn, and there's not enough Cleansing Shields in the world to deal with. We have Adept. 15 plus 23 is not quite enough. With this, it should be. Yeah. Toughen actually healing us for like the second time. I think we're just copying this Aether Storm. It seems very likely that what we're doing here is we are just playing and regrowthing the Aether Storm. We're going to Ravenous Intent first, which is going to... The reason we did that was for these Vengeance stacks, which are plus... This is normally a Catan only thing, but some of the monster cards in Area 30 will give you mechanics that normally are only available from other characters. In this case, Vengeance, which is going to give us 20% extra damage. And we can actually play the Aether Storm Plus 3 times here. And then that's going to finish off the fight. So that was kind of a rougher fight than some of the others. So the Corrupted Font we're going to take. You may think that that Curse 1, like we just struggled with Curse, but Curse 1 is not that much, and not having to deal with the not having to deal with, but just like getting all that mana is very good. And then we're going to get this shield from casting spells because this wasn't doing much for us, and the shield from casting spells is going to do a lot. I do think at this point, though, I do want Dispel Magic Plus, which is going to help if we end up getting multiple stacks of curse on ourselves. And then we are going to remove, probably still, it might be the Magic Blast. The Magic Blast does now give us a little bit of shield, but it is obviously far less useful than like the Mind Blast Plus. But we just have so little damage that I can't really justify removing any of our damaging cards. So again, we have this slightly awkward opening hand where we don't have any way to get Adept or any way to freeze everything, but we can at least get Mighty and Tough, which you'll notice is going to reduce the incoming damage quite a bit. And we can Aether Storm Plus twice, which is pretty good. How many times can we Aether Storm? So we can get... Copying it doesn't get us another cast, because we only have 2 extra. Because I was just trying to figure out if I could Duplication Tome with the Regrowth and the Aether Storm Plus to get even more. But I think the first thing I would do is equate this thing's stack of Hidden and its stack of Critical, so that now we can guaranteed hit it with the Aether Storm. And I think I'm fine with this turn just being that we do that. We regrowth, we do it again. And we pass the turn. And you'll notice we had a bunch of extra shields because of our new weapon putting in work. I think we Blessed Strike, Empower, Regrowth, Empower, which is now going to give us a lot of purity stacks, a lot of powerful stacks, and we're going to draw some cards, which will let us get a freeze off. The question is do we want to... So we can actually doubling Spyglass into Bag of Tools, which gives us a very good chance of finding some of what we want, which in this case would have been mana, which we did not, or mana or better card draw, which we didn't really get either one, which makes it kind of awkward. But we can, both of these serrated traps together will kill that front unit if we wanted to, if that's the route we wanted to take, and I think it is. I think we just go ambushed, ambushed, and then we're going to play Shrouding Battalion just to get the growth stacks. Oh, duh, it shielded. Of course that didn't get us the kill. Let no one tell you I am anything other than an expert at this game. At all games. Just a good old general purpose expert. We're going to brainstorm first. I'm going to copy the Power Surge as always, and then I think the Ice Shards. Actually, maybe the Icy Chains, because that will let us also get a bunch of freezes off. Probably the Ice Shards was smarter. I'm going to just Arcane this so that I don't end up burning a whole bunch of time trying to fight through that that hidden stack. So here we can do that, which is going to give us a whole bunch of mana, and we can freeze everything and draw some cards. And we don't have anything to do with the mana yet, but so the reason that I'm not just focusing down anything is because we still have that Aether Storm, which whenever we get around to drawing Aether Storm, we'll just we'll kill everything anyway. Although at this point, what did I just play? It wasn't what, oh, it was just the Noxious Focus. Okay, I meant to regrowth back the whatever, but I didn't. So instead, we're gonna do this, which was definitely my plan all along. Yes, I'm very smart. I'm definitely not repeatedly just playing the cards in the wrong order. And then, like, when you're trying to regrowth, you get punished pretty hard for that. Now now that I have a second Mind Blast, I think I'm fine cutting the Magic Blast. Let's do that and that. And we'll start with the Cursed Horseshoe, and then play the Brainstorm, and then play the Dispel Magic. I would love to be able to increase the ranks of that one thing, width, but we don't have, or adapt, but we don't have any. So that is a non-starter. I am going to go ahead and do that though. Okay, so though this is good. So that gives us a stack of plated, and these plated stacks are temporary. But if we buff them with Empower, then they won't be. And so let me think. We've got. So this is functionally costing us 4 mana if we bring back this. So that is 6 on its own, which means that it is then 12 to do again, plus initial 2. Yeah, I think we can actually afford to play that. We go Empower, Regrowth, Empower, Regrowth, Empower, Empower. And now we have 4 permanent stacks of plated, and these guys are all sad, which makes us happy. Tink, tink, tink. Tink, tink. So we have to play this in order to be able to play the Resolute Focus, but that's fine, because that is going to freeze. We're fine taking a bit of one stack of Curse here for the mana. That is easily worthwhile for us here. Let's start with the Ice Shards into Aether Storm Plus, which is not quite going to kill the front thing, but is going to get us close. Just go ahead and carry that after a Mountain of Frost. We're going to Doubling Spyglass, the Power Surge, which is going to get us a whole bunch more powerful. So we didn't quite get that kill there, but we got reasonably close. I think I just want more mana at this point. Brainstorm, Cleansing Shield, and that gets rid of the curse stack that we had. So I've gone a little bit mad with power at this point. I should just get these kills. But I do have 10 powerful and 5 plated, and nothing can touch us, and it's beautiful. Okay. So Persecute gives Vulnerable, which we don't otherwise have ways to apply. It gives a little bit of Curse, a little bit of, like, Persecute is pretty marginal, but it is not the worst. Okay, so Void Hood, I think, is more valuable to us than the Arcane Torrent, because this plus 20% spell damage is very good for us. Mana Crystal is also good, Weighty Charm is also good, but we already have 5 excellent trinkets. So let's see what we draw. And then let's Cursed Horseshoe into Dispel Magic. Draw some cards. I think I am interested in setting that up. And then that just gets us a little bit closer to doing everything we want to do. So I think we are going to Duplication Tome on the Power Surge and the Empower. We're going to doubling Spyglass the Power Surge. We're going to Meditate. I don't quite have enough mana to do everything I want to do. I feel silly now. Let's see what I get off of this. Yeah, that's not the worst. That'll get us more mana boost. That's not. Oh, and then we can. Yeah, that's fine. So we don't quite get to go off to the degree I want to, but we do get to get some permanent plated stacks. We get to get some mana boost. We get to just generally have a good time. The overcharged, we don't have a way to get rid of. We also don't have a way to draw cards after we do it, so fine with it. We're totally fine with taking 0x2. We're not going to bother freezing that. And now we can Icy Concentration into Regrowth. And Icy Concentration, we can't really use the mana this turn, but it means that we have the mana for next turn. Tink, tink. I think I want to freeze you and then just wail on the Shadowbone Elemental because we want the Elemental itself to die. We can do that, which is going to clear up some of our problems. We still have, I think, all of our buffs in place, so we'll just up them all by 1. We will freeze that so it takes extra damage from our Aether Storm. And then Aether Storm Plus is going to do several damage. And that's still going to get the kill. Okay, Morbid End. So if we can afford Morbid End, it's very good. I think we probably can, or we are close enough that I'm willing to risk it. I think I'm going to take Empower Plus because with our trinkets and whatever, and with the... So it's Empower Plus or it's Regrowth Plus. I think actually Regrowth Plus is the better general card, although copying Empower Plus would be helpful for... not copying Empower Plus, but like upgrading Empower gives us the ability to duplicate it more easily without having issues. So this fight, the thing with this fight is these enemies, when they take damage, they will, if they take enough damage, they will give us treasures. But I don't know that this will be enough damage to get us our first treasure. It was not. But hitting them still does draw us, does still get us shield because we played spells. Then we're going to get the Bag of Tools and then draw a card. Okay, so we're definitely going to toughen. We're definitely going to mana salve. I think what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and set up a lot of curse on that guy. We're going to take some damage here. There's not a ton I can do about that. But we're not going to take as much as we could have. And it's actually going to just barely put us at that -15 that puts us at exactly the recovery threshold. So the Dispel Magic is going to... would remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need to play something before we play the Cursed Horseshoe. And then we are going to Dispel Magic to clean off the Arcane Link and the Frail. And then we are going to Persecute into Resolute Focus, into Regrowth, into more Resolute Focus. We just have the most Resolute Focus imaginable. We're going to, because I think this card, because that double red icon means that they're going to add cards to our hand. I think those are going to be treasures, and we are happy to have treasures. Oh, but this is going to freeze them both anyway. Oh well. Do I want Purity? Do I want more Adept and more Growth? I think I want Purity. Yeah. get mana. I think I'm copying the power surge to the empower here. Power surge, empower, and now that does not cost us any curse because we had that going. We can Ravenous Intent and see what we get. Okay. So because we now have... So this is what I was talking about, where we just get all of these treasures from... dealing damage to these guys. Because the trade-off, the idea here is that like these guys are a lot more healthy, a lot more dangerous in general than other enemies in this area, and the payoff, and in exchange for dealing with the fact that they are tougher, they give you treasures. Let's do that, which is going to get us do a bit of damage, draw some cards. You can end up in this position though where you do just have a ton of treasures in your hand. Let's do this whole dance to get us that. Do I kill or do I just go for more damage? I think I just go for more damage. Because this guy is, well, it's taking 52 a turn, so we don't need to do that much more damage to it. Because yeah, if we freeze the backliner, then that just immediately kills it, basically. And that is, I mean, we can just literally end the fight. Okay. So on the one hand, I like having the Cultivate, which is a reason not to reroll, but I really want Muck from the Mire, or Dig Through the Muck, which is just an incredibly good card. And so that's what we're going to do. And now we're going to Rusty Punch. What did I pass? Did I pass up a remove a card? Because I totally want a remove a card for Persecute. Unfortunately, we don't have enough mana cards to get the gain extra max mana thing, which is unfortunate. I'm considering cutting the Toughen. It has been fine, but it also has been kind of a... I think we actually cut the Magic Blast first. I think now we have enough that I'm fine cutting the Magic Blast. We're fighting the Maw, which means that... Okay, so this is one I will take over the... This is what I'm talking about, where it's like we get spell damage, we get extra status, that's just better than the heavy plating for us. We're going to take the temporary buff. We were hoping that we would get... Because we're still probably going to get enough energy here. So then we could get poison applied by spells. I think we would actually rather have the shield because the Dreadmaw is going to apply... Okay, so the advantage of doing the poison applied by spells is that then we could get Noxious Focus to go off. But the advantage of going with what we've got is that then we get the shield, and we're probably going to end up being cursed by the Dreadmaw, and so having that shield counteract the curse is useful. Do we want to remove anything? That's again the question. I think we remove the Toughen at this point. It seems like the least valuable card. And then I don't think we want to remove anything else. I think we're fine with everything else. Is there anything here that we would only be running because it was good against multiple enemies? I think the answer is no. Because like the Frost Wave is best when we were able to hit multiple things, but it is still even without that a way to get to draw cards. So I think we're good. Just restore health and go. So the question, one of the first questions, just looking at this deck, is where do we want to spend our trinkets, our various effects? This we're going to do now because we can set it up. So duplicating the Power Surge makes a lot of sense, and it's probably what we're going to do. I think duplicating it and the Blessed Strike also, just like duplicating both of those makes sense. I think those are both decent quality, especially because like we are getting debuffed this turn. I think I'm going to doubling Spyglass the Power Surge. Then we have Power Surge. I'm going to Blessed Strike. And Blessed Strike. And then the question is, do I regrowth the Blessed Strike? I think yes. But then I'm going to Chilling Focus into Icy Blast, Icy Concentration, Icy Concentration, and that sets us up with plenty of mana for next turn. So this was another consideration for saving the Arcane Spyglass for, because that just, it's 24 damage per turn every time we cast this. But I do really like the position we're in right now, where we have all of this powerful. Which doesn't do anything with that, of course, but let's draw some cards. Get even more powerful, and do that. I don't expect to keep the Dreadmaw. That is the name. Oh, Hollow Maw. I keep calling it Dreadmaw or just the Maw, but it is the Hollow Maw. I don't anticipate keeping it frozen every turn for the rest of the fight, but it depends a lot on how long the fight lasts, doesn't it? So let's draw some non-mana, and then we're guaranteed to draw at least a Chilling Focus out of this, which seems pretty good. Two Chilling Focuses. I think we're just going to go for damage. I don't think we're going to risk the Brainstorm not drawing us ways to spend the mana. So we are whittling down our enemy. This has taken us less time than the inner run by a decent margin. Although obviously still not as fast as the Catalan run. I think I am just going to... Actually, we don't have that many Adept stacks. The Meditate stack does do some. Let's do that, and let's do the Blessed Strike and the Icy Chains. I am honestly kind of stunned that we have been able to consistently pull off these freezes. That's you have to have we had to have stacked a lot of powerful in order to do that. We're going to empower, and then we're going to regrowth, and we're going to resolute focus, and we're going to empower, and then we're going to regrowth, and we're going to empower. Then we're going to Frostwave. So yeah, we are now up to 11 powerful stacks. The Ice Shards is now doing 13x3, which, again, it starts out doing 1x3. The question is if I want to dig through Muck and draw some cards. What are the cards in my deck? Yes, because I would like to use these Shocked on Mind Blast Plus, because that's going to do a couple damage. Let's draw. Okay, I was hoping to get the Mind Seed, but it's fine. We can do that, which is going to get us even more damage here. We can now get a chance of critting, which did 268 damage, which is completely reasonable. So the Maw has not gotten a turn yet. I don't know what turn we're on, but it is. It has been several turns have passed, and the Maw still has yet to get a turn, and it's not going to. So that is Raodan. So I hope that was entertaining to you, or informative to you, or I guess I just hope you don't feel like you watched all that and wasted your time. I appreciate you tuning in and watching. Nameless internet stranger. I say nameless. It's probably one of the people I chat with regularly on the Discord. Anyway, there's the rest of the end screen, and that is it for this video.